This is Isshin, two heavens as one, and this is why my friends hate him.
Prepare for trouble, make it double.
So the new sci-fi Kamigawa set is out, along with its new pile of really interesting creatures. This is the legend that stuck out to me the most. This is Isshin, two heavens as one, a Mardu human samurai. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. It took me a little while to figure out exactly what to do with this guy, and to be honest, there's like 4 different decks I could build with him, but I'm going to show you the one that I built right now. So the deck I built and got to play last night has essentially 5 different categories of cards. I went with cards that make tokens, cards that care about tokens coming into play, cards that care about creatures attacking, cards that give you more attacks, and then some weird defensive stuff, because that whole creature attacking causes a triggered ability of your stuff to trigger also includes other people's stuff, and that gets you some neat things. To go a bit further into detail before the individual cards, we've got Mardu Ascendancy is a card I want to play so much more often, but doesn't quite fit into my vampire deck right now. So whenever a non-token creature you control attacks, you get a 1/1 red goblin into play, tapped and attacking. Impact Tremors says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it does 2 damage to each opponent. So if you attack with one creature, Isshin gives you 2 tokens, and each of your opponents takes 2. This gets into some really interesting interactions later on. To get the best use out of some of these tokens, we have cards like Brutal Horde Chief, that whenever a creature you control attacks, defending player loses a life, you gain 1. So without even making it into the blocking step, you have the ability to do a fair bit of damage. Also, he's got the wonderful ability that really messes over someone when they want to block. We get cards like Waves of Aggression that give you multiple attack phases, which means you'd attack, get tokens, guys that take damage, and you get a whole other attack phase for more combat triggers. And then the last part is cards like Cunning Rhetoric and a few others that trigger when anybody attacks, just to help you. So even if it's not your turn, you're still getting something out of the deck. And a deck that does things kind of passively on other people's turns is always going to be in a slightly better position when it comes back around to your turn. So for the offense part of the deck, we have cards that give you tokens when you attack. Battlecry Goblin will give you 1 provided you're attacking with 6 or more creatures. Sky Knight Vanguard drops off a 1/1 soldier. Karenko Tin Street Kingpin gives you some goblins. Hanweir Garrison gives you soldiers. And you can see creeping behind there, we have Hanweir Battlements. So maybe we can get the big Eldrazi to show up. And then there's Aldane Resplendent Cathar. Now, Aldane doesn't have to do anything. It just sits there. Whenever you attack someone, for each opponent, you're getting a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player. The typical commander pod is 4 players. You attack someone with 1 card, and it creates 3 tokens. I'm sorry, Isshin's out. It makes 6 tokens. On the other side, we've got Launch the Fleet, which is a nice one-shot creature generator that I don't think gets enough love. It's 1 white, and then another 1 for every thing you target, and when a creature attacks, you get another 1/1 creature tapped and attacking. Captain's Claws makes a core warrior or something like that. Mardu Ascendancy gives you a goblin. Blade of Selves, Banshee the Dreadquired, Herald of Host have that wonder myriad ability that if you attack one player, it creates tokens attacking all the other players. So while you might attack person A with Herald of the Host, B and C are each being attacked by 2 copies of the same creature. And this starts to pile up after a bit. You might say it's a bunch of 1/1 tokens, what do they matter? Well, Ogre Battle Driver turns them into 3/1s. Impact Tremors, we already discussed, is going to hit every time something comes out. And if you're lucky enough to have a Purphoros, everyone's taken 2 per token you put into play. And as the game progresses, you should be able to get more and more of these things out, thus increasing your damage output with every additional attack. But we can't just rely on tokens. We need to have some real cards to pump up our entire board when we're doing something. Legion Loyalist is a nice cheap little creature that when it and 2 other creatures attack, your guys all get first strike and trample and can't be blocked by creature tokens this turn. Ankle Shanker is a little expensive, a 5 casting cost 2/2, but all your stuff gets First Strike and Death Touch. Martin Stromgold, if you've been around since the Age of Ice Age, you know this guy, whenever you attack, each other creature, except for Martin himself, gets +X, where X is the number of other creatures that attack. So if Martin and 4 other creatures attack, all those creatures gain +4/+4. Isshin's out +8/+8. And you should be able to build up enough tokens to make your attacks really worthwhile. Adriana, Captain of the Guard, pumps up all your guys, depending on how many opponents you attack. You're in a 4-player pod, you attack 3 people, Isshin kicks in. They're all +6/+6. A Quarter Paladin, Goblin War Driver, and Hero Bladehold all have that nice little battle cry ability. And I probably should have had Hero Bladehold in the token generation department, because it's going to make 2 white soldiers into play tapped and attacking. Brutal Horde Chief already hits your opponent when you attack. So does Hell Rider. Tectonic Giant has a do 3 damage to everyone, or I think it's exile a couple cards off the top of your library. Campaign of Vengeance steals a life from someone every time you attack them. Fervent Charge is a nice weird card that I don't think it's played anywhere near as much as it should. Whenever your creature you control attacks, gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And there's a lot of things that simply give a static +whatever to attackers, but this is a triggered one, meaning Isshin will give your guys +4/+4. Smuggler Copter's in there, so we can loot cards. Crow and Hoplite gets +X/+O, where X is the number of attacking creatures. So on his own, he's not bad. He's small, he's cheap, and then you throw a bunch of other stuff in there, and he becomes this giant thing that has to be blocked. Treasury Thrall is going to get you back an artifact, creature, or enchantment from your graveyard to hand. He's a little on the expensive side, but he'll help you recoup some of your losses. And then Sword of the Animist is going to give you a basic land into play tapped whenever the creature it's equipped to attacks. So Isshin is going to give you 2 at a time, kind of helping you build up your mana base a bit more. And then it's on to the stuff that makes everything even more fun to play with. Cards that give you more attack phases. Now, these are all, unfortunately, rather expensive cards. Aggravated Assault, you pay 2 red and 3, all your stuff untaps, you get another attack phase. Waves of Aggression, your stuff untaps, you get another attack phase, and you can retrace it. Morag, Fury of Akum, has a landfall trigger that gives you an extra attack phase. And Aurelia the War Leader, whenever she attacks the first time, gives you an extra attack phase. It is important to note that a lot of the tokens that come into play from your other cards don't have haste, so they're going to kind of sit on the sidelines, unless you're lucky enough to get the Ogre Battle Driver out, or maybe you're playing a card I'm not that gives them haste. Oh, and by the way, remember Sword of the Animist? Well, if you've got him and Morag, you get to have as many attack phases as you have lands you can pull out of your deck. And then on the kind of defensive side, Righteous Cause gives you 1 life whenever a creature attacks, period, so 2 with Isshin out. Path of Bravery gives you 1 for every creature you control attacks, and if you have more life than you started with, a +1/+1. Good old Kazul there, whenever someone attacks you, if they don't pay 3 colorless mana, you get a 3/3 red ogre, which means now that triggers twice. You know, how important is it for someone to attack you if they have to pay 6 to keep you from having any extra blockers? We brought up Cunning Rhetoric already, that lets you steal cards off other people's decks. And Hissing Miasma makes it so whenever someone attacks you, they lose 1 life for each attacking creature. And that said, there are numerous cards that work the same as Hissing Miasma, and there's other ones that punish people for attacking. You really could make a somewhat Pillow 40 deck out of this, although I think you're kind of insulting him given the fact that he really, really wants you to go out there and just be wonderfully hostile. And the rest of the deck is currently an awful lot of mana fixing, because if you can't hit the 3 colors you need on turn 3, the deck does slow down a little bit. It doesn't shut off when he's not there, it just doesn't function as well. And there's some spot removal and a few other things in there too. But I'm having fun with him. He's a neat little aggressive creature. I'm not sure he'd count as a tiny commander or not. It just costs 3. But he's built in a way that allows you to do an awful lot of things. I almost went with a mostly Boros equipment deck, because there's a lot of equipment that triggers on attacking stuff. I briefly thought about building a very, very strange Mardu pillow fort, just to watch my opponents squirm as they try to chew through all of this stuff in front of me while I think of a way to win with him. However, the weird part, I think he's on for like $3 on most sites, and I think it's a bit of a disservice. He's a amazingly versatile little creature. Hopefully a lot of people have fun with him the same way I did. But that's all I gotta say, and this has been another episode of This Is My Commander and Why My Friends Hate It, and I'd like to thank you for sticking around, and I will see you again in the future.